Hi, welcome back, everybody. I'm super excited to be here today with Pengfei Xie, and we'll be talking more about the article that he has with his co-authors Hongjie Soon and Yan Soon, and it's called The Inverted U-Shaped Effect of Personalization on Consumer Attitudes and AI-Generated Ads, Striking the Right Balance Between Utility and Threat. And this came out of the June 2025 issue of JAR. So, Pengfei, thank you so much for being here today to talk more about your article.
Yeah. Hello. I'm Pengfei Xie. It's very honored to be here to introduce our research.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. Yeah. So to start us off, for people who may not have read the article yet, could you tell us a bit about the question that you go through and take a look at, or the research questions you investigate in the article?
Okay. Mm, then the question one in a few I will in a few minutes I will briefly tell you about our article and its findings. Our article dives into a very topical issue in the advertising world, personalization. In AI-generated ads. For years, the prevailing wisdom, especially with the rise of AI, has been the more personalized, the better. Tech giants and advertisers are investing heavily in technologies that can create personalized ads, assuming that this will always lead to better consumer responses. Our research challenged this assumption. We propose that the relationship between the degree of personalization and consumer attitudes isn't linear. Instead, it follows an inverted U shape. This means that as the personalization increase from low to moderate, consumer attitudes be- become more favorable. However, once personalization becomes excessive, the personalization becomes excessive, or what we term high when the personalization was high. Thus, positive attitudes start to decline. The sweet spot where consumers have the most positive feelings is at the moderate level of personalization. To understand why this happens, we introduce a conception we call perceived utility. It's a good one, and a threat difference. This is essential the mental trade-off consumer make. Utility is a good stuff. The ad is relevant. It saves time. It helps me to with choices. Threat is a bad stuff. It feels intrusive. It raises privacy concerns. It feels like you are being watched by the companies.
Yeah.
We found that at a moderate level of personalization, the difference between utility and threat is maximized in the moderate personalization, which in turn leads to the most favorable attitudes. At high levels, the perceived threat starts to grow. This one starts to grow faster than utility, making the trade-off less appealing. It's more smaller, the PUTD, just as we said. Finally, we found that this entire dynamic is influenced by an individual's privacy concerns. For consumers who are highly concerned about their privacy, the introverted U-shape is much much steeper. It's much steeper. The more sensitive to high level of personalization and their attitudes drop off sharply. For those with no privacy concerns, the curve is flatter, but it's also inverted U-shape. It's flatter. But even they show a decline in positive um, uh, attitudes when personalization becomes excessive. So, in short, our paper argues for a more long-term approach, suggesting that in AI advertising, balance is key. The balance between threat and utility is key. Yes, that's our paper. Yeah.
I think it's a very cool idea, and I think it's a very neat paper to go through and look at this in more detail, because we're likely to see more and more ads that are personalized because of generative AI. I think we're definitely moving toward that more in the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. So, in terms of takeaways for advertisers, I guess the big takeaway for advertisers is not to personalize too much. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it's correct.
Cool.
It's correct.
Any other things you think advertisers should do based on your study?
Oh yeah. Our findings offers several direct actionable applications for advertising professionals. First, the and foremost is a call to adopt a more rational perspective on personalization and avoid the more is better, as you just said, pitfall. The technology allows for incredibly granular individual level targeting, but our research shows that deploying it to its maximum extent can be counterproductive. Marketers should see personalization not as a goal in itself, but as a tool, just a tool that leads careful collaboration. There is an optimal level, and accepting it can diminish returns by uh, alienating consumers. Second, practitioners need to actively manage the balance between perceived utility and perceived threat. This means it's not enough to just make an ad irrelevant. Relevant is not enough.
Mm.
To enhance utility, companies can do many things. Yeah, but at the same time, they must actively work to mitigate the perceived threat is more important. This can be done by stressing data security, being transparent about how the data is used, and giving consumers more control. They can control their information they want to share. Addressing the algorithm black box concern is crucial for building and uh, and to keep trust. Finally, our research strongly suggests that one size fits on personalization strategy is a mistake. Consumers are
Mm.
not moralists. They're sensitive to personalization varies, especially based on their private concerns. Companies should leverage AI not just to personalized ads, but also to use AI as a tool to identify different consumer segments based on trends like privacy sensitivity. For consumers with high private concerns, a less aggressive, more conscious personalization approach is needed. Perhaps focus on more on data security factors. For those who are less concerned, there are more room for deeper personalization. But even then, it's vital to state within the moderate suite to avoid triggering evasion. It's about moving from mass personalization to smart, segmented personalization. Yeah, that's some ideas for application.
Yeah, definitely. I think
That's my,
using AI to try to predict, what level of personalization people want would be quite cool. And that would be a
yeah.
very nice way of making it more appropriate when people see ads that are more personalized. Yeah. Cool. So next big question is, thank you for that detail. Next big question is like, where did the idea for this paper come from? Did you get a personalized ad, or did somebody else, one of your co-authors, get a personalized ad, or how did that happen?
Oh yeah, the spark came from Professor Hongjie, the first authors who first initiated our team discussion about, whether more personalization is always better in the age of generative AI. Further, last year we see ChatGPT and Midjourney and Sora. We saw this tool was moving from novelty to practical application in advertising, enable the creation of ad content at a scale and precision that was previously unimaginable. On the other hand, we saw the relentless push from major tech companies like Meta, Alibaba, Tencent, all double down on using AI to drive ever deep personalization. The narrative in the industry was very clean. Personalization is the future, and AI is an engine that will get us to perfect one-to-one advertising. This led us to ask a critical question: is there a potential disconnect between what the technology can do and what consumers actually want? This
Mm,
assumption that consumers will always respond positive to more and more personalization seemed too simplistic. When you look at the exciting, we look at the exciting academic literature, the results are actually mixed. Some studies show positive effects of personalization, but others highlight the dark side, privacy intrusion, reactance, and consumer skepticism. We notice a gap in the research, particularly in the context of the new AI generated ads. Most prior studies focus on a linear relationship, like this or like this, uh, lead to better or the personalization lead to better or worse outcomes. Very few had systematically tested for a low linear or curvilinear relationship. We suspected that the true effect might be more complex. Like many things in human psychology, we theorized that there might be a tipping point where the cool factor of a perfecter tenet and turns into a creepy factor. That's what set us on the path to investigating this introverted U-shaped effect to find out where the tip point lies. Yeah.
yeah. I like that. From cool to creepy. That sounds like a good title. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so tell me about any challenges. Did you run into any challenges while you were going through and doing this study?
Oh, yeah, we have encountered a few significant challenges during our research process. One of the first major hurdles was uh, operationalizing the degree of personalization in a controlled experimental setting. It's an abstract concept. So how do we correct low, medium, and high levels that are clearly distinct, realistic, and consistently understood by participants? We spent a lot of time designing this experimental. Uh, the second, another challenge was developing a robust theoretical framework to explain the effect. It's one thing to observe an introverted U-shaped, but it's another thing to explain the psychology mechanism behind it. We draw up approach and avoidance theory, which is classical psychology framework, but applying it to AI advertising was novel. This the key step was conceptualizing the perceived utility and threat difference as a mediator. This wasn't a pre-existing scale. We defined it as the later difference between two opposing forces. Justi- Justifying this approach and showing that this single difference score effectively captures the consumer's trade-off process was a conceptual challenge that required careful argumentation. A final challenge was ensure the generalization of our findings. A single study with one product and one type of participant wouldn't be very convincing. To address
Yeah.
this, we intentionally conducted a series of three studies. We used different product categories: survives, consumable, and durables. Different salary, and importantly, we control data from participants in different countries and different control contexts, the UK, US, and China. This multi-study cross-cultural approach and the scenario approach added a lot of complexity to data collection and analysis, but it was
Yeah, I can
essential
imagine.
for demonstrating that this inverted U-shaped effect is not just a fluke, but a robust psychological phenomenon in the age of AI advertising. That's our challenges.
Yeah. And then the final question, just sort of to wrap up, do you have any ideas for further research as well too? Where else could researchers go to extend or add more insights after reading your study?
Absolutely. Our study opens up several exciting avenues for future research, and also I'm writing some papers on this topic. I will share it. First, while our scenario-based experiments provide strong causal evidence, the next logical step would be to validate these findings in real-world settings. We would love to see few field experiments conducted in partnership with companies using secondary data from actual advertising campaigns. This would help confirm if the inverted U-shaped effect holds up amidst the complexities and the loss of the real digital marketplace. Second, we have only stretched the surface of potential moderated factors like private concerns, but many other variables could shape this relationship. For instance, what about consumers' characteristics like AI literacy or general innovativeness? All brand-related factors like brand trust, a consumer might be more tolerant of high personalization from a trusted brand like Apple than from a brand that they have never heard of. Third, an interesting question is whether the source of the ad matters. We need to compare attitudes towards ads generated by AI versus those merely recommended by traditional algorithm. Even if the level of personalization is identical, thus knowing that AI didn't just select the ad, but actually corrected it, change people's perception of threat or utility. Understanding the unique psychology impact of generative AI is a key area for future work. The fourth and also the last one, existing research has extensively examined the pros and cons of generative AI disclosure. Yeah. One common disclosure is, oh, this picture was generated by AI. This end was generated by AI. Under this framing, AI to somewhat takes on the role of character, fundamentally different from prior corrective tools like Photoshop, and behind the notion of a mere tool. So, in what specific ways does AI corrected advertising differ from human created advertising?
Mm,
We are doing this research now. Thank you. That's my.
awesome. Yeah, I love there's so many different, I think, places to go with the research after your studies. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Uh,
Thank you so much for being on, Pengfei. It was great to learn more about your article. And again, for those people who are interested, the article is in the June 2025 issue of JAR. And again, it's called The Inverted U-Shaped Effect of Personalization on Consumer Attitudes in AI-Generated Ads, Striking the Right Balance Between Utility and Threat. Cool. Cool. So thank you again for being on Pengfei, and we look forward to
Okay, thank
seeing
you.
more exciting research from you and your team.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.
See you.
Awesome. That was really well done. Yeah.